All right, so you brought up 3-on-1. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room. I thought that you couldn't suck worse than ABC News hosting a debate. CBS took sucking to a level that I had not thought was possible. I mean, it was bad in so many respects. I go back to what I've said all along, which is the media this cycle has said, I don't care anymore. We're not going to hide it. We need to stop Donald Trump. And last night was proof again.
I was screaming at my TV in that moment, screaming when Margaret Brennan tried to fact check Vance on the whole Springfield, the Haitian, the legal status, illegal status. The way that they cut him off and the way that they editorialized, because there was the moment from Nora too about the climate change. Well, the consensus among scientists is that climate change is whatever it is. I mean, there was no place for it, especially after they set the rules and said, we're not going to be fact checking. And so good on Vance for trying to fact check the fact checker, because she was absolutely wrong. But they were awful in every way. The way that she was constantly saying your time is up when he had already stopped talking. The way that they would say we have so much to get to, which took more time than if they would have just gotten to the things. Like the moderators were absolute last night. Sorry.
No, they sucked.
They were.
I just don't get it. Because no one's asking for this. I got asked this morning on a radio interview, why do we have to do this? And I'm like, we don't. It should be literally a stage, X amount of time, an hour and a half, 5 topics, go. It has to be. I mean, why do we need 2 moderators for a 2-person debate? Because the network wants to highlight it and make it about them and show their talent off. This is, it's too much about them. And every point that you made about Margaret and Nora was right. They tried to make it about them. Also, did the DNC write the topics? I wrote this down.
Totally.
I wrote down, here's the topics. Childcare, abortion for 40 minutes. I mean, seriously, climate change, guns, democracy.
J6.
J6. Yeah, well, that's democracy.
Yeah. So, oh my God, that took forever. And I was like, why are we spending so much time on that? I mean, it was just belabored. I was like, can we move on?
What we didn't talk about, China.
Right.
We didn't talk about foreign policy. We didn't talk about the military. We didn't talk about veterans. I mean, there were so many things that
there's port strike.
The port strike, AI, big tech. I mean, there was a list of things where I was like, okay, all these other things are happening. And we could have gone on just about the economy and immigration for a long time. But it was like, I just want to make sure that we that was a home field advantage for Tim Walz. And he still looked like Don Nichols, got mugged by an old uncle.
Somebody in our group this morning in our chat said they look like a frazzled Captain Kangaroo.
Oh, not bad. Yeah,
that's a pretty good one. Yeah.
Although somebody else I was on this, this morning meeting thing I do with Mark Halpert in the morning, and somebody said that Vance looked like Jim from The Office, where he was just like,
oh yeah,
point
when he was
taken,
looking
Dwight.
at the clock.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I just, all right. I mean, I don't know that I want to belabor this anymore, but I will say CBS did itself no favors. Republicans need, and I think it was Joe Concha who tweeted out, Republicans need to stop going on CBS News. Last night just showed how much they hate us and Trump and Vance and everything. And I feel like we keep playing into their hands. We agree to their debates. We agree to go to their forums. We agree to their rules. I mean, you brought it up, I think it mocked just a second ago. We've got to start saying no.
Yeah. I would love for that to happen. And that kind of brings up the whole 60 Minutes thing that's supposed to happen. Is that going to happen? I don't know, because
Trump says no. Trump says, I'm not going. And I got to be honest with you. I've known him for 10 years, maybe a little longer. And I was convinced he was going to get into this because it's legacy media. He loves 60 Minutes.
Well, right now they came to me and would like me to do an interview, but first I want to get an apology because the last time I did an interview with them, if you remember, they challenged me on the computer. They said the laptop from hell was from Russia. And I said it wasn't from Russia, it was from Hunter. And I never got an apology, so I'm sort of waiting. I'd love to do 60 Minutes. I do everything. I mean, I do you right now, right?
But I kept saying to myself the whole time they were negotiating, I'm like, they are going to burn you. And I am so proud of the campaign. They put out a statement saying last night, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And but then he said he would if he got an apology. So that's why I'm
and they
is
didn't
that gonna
live
happen?
fact check them.
Yeah, but they're never going to apologize.
No,
you guys.
I can't imagine.
Never going to happen. Yeah, legacy media is never going to apologize. It's just not going to happen. And they've been completely awful to Donald Trump. It would be great, like in a utopia, if we could handle these debates moving forward, because we're just never going to go backwards at this point. If we could handle the debates in some sort of an alternative media setting, even if you had,
just so I'm
great.
clear, Daisy. Like, here's the thing. This isn't. I did it in 2016. In terms of reforming the Republican ones, the solution is actually really easy. And this is where the Presidential Commission on Debates had a stranglehold. They made it corporate. They had Budweiser and Coke and all these big sponsors. Here's my thing. You find a university or I don't care, a school stage, right? Because you don't need a big audience. You don't need that. They had turned this into a spectacle. So you pick a stage, you get someone's got to pay for the transmission, right? Because that's fact. You get this thing set up, which I think that there's enough do-gooders out there in the world that would give a grant or something like this. And then you pick what I say is a timekeeper, not a moderator. And the campaigns agree on subjects. And you say, great, 5 subjects, the economy, inflation, whatever, who cares? 10 minutes apiece. Each side gets 5 minutes or whatever. And you just say, hey, the timekeeper's job is to keep time. And for the first 10 minutes, it's the economy. The second 10 minutes, it's foreign policy. Then it's, border security or whatever. And let the candidates talk. And that's it. And by the way, and then you do what they called, you just allow it to be pooled and open feed, which is what happened last night, basically. We're already halfway there. CBS and then before that CNN and ABC, they might have hosted it, but everybody could carry it. So they'll all take it. Everybody will carry it. But what I would argue is just say, great, what we're doing is we're going to have it at this university, which would be, and there's a stage, the 2 candidates show up. It's going to be an hour and a half. Whatever, 10 minutes a subject, boom, 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 boom. And a timekeeper says, okay, go. Each of you has 5 minutes to talk about the economy. When that's done, now we're doing 10 minutes on foreign policy, 10 minutes on, and we work through the issues. It's mano y mano. That's it. Game over.
I think that would be awesome. That would be great. And then follow that up with town halls all over the country.
With audience questions.
Yes, ma'am. Like open mic town halls where actual people who are paying these freaking people's salaries can ask questions and say, what do you think about that? What do you think about this? And have them be put on the spot and be unscripted and not have the questions in advance and just be asked questions by real people who they are supposed to be accountable to.
Yeah, the problem is that the media, I mean, you guys brought this up. It was 3-on-1. If you're a Democrat, why you're like, great, I have it at CBS or ABC. I know I'm going to get friendly topics from friendly people, right? They don't want to give that up. They know they benefit in a 3-on-1 situation versus a 1-on-1. I want to one of the issues that I do last night for the first time in my 30 years of campaigning, a Democrat was on defense on the issue of abortion. Jd Vance schooled Tim Walz.
Now, of course, Donald Trump has been very clear that on the abortion policy specifically, that we have a big country and it's diverse. And California has a different viewpoint on this than Georgia. Georgia has a different viewpoint from Arizona. And the proper way to handle this, as messy as democracy sometimes is to let voters make these decisions, let the individual states make their abortion policy. And I think that's what makes the most sense in a very big, a very diverse, and let's be honest, sometimes a very, very messy and divided country.
And I thought to myself, bottle that up, send it to every Republican, and go.
Well, he did. I agree with you, except that there was not enough pushback on the lie that was that Georgia woman's story. And that, that needed to be called out.
Go with that. What's the lie that needs to get exposed?
Well, the lie is that somehow it is a Trump abortion ban, which isn't even a thing, that killed that woman, when in fact it was because she got a medical abortion and then there was absolute medical malpractice that had nothing to do with laws or anything legal about abortion as a procedure. So it's just a lie that they keep telling over and over, much like Project 2025 is a lie. And those things did not get called out. So while I agree with you, I still think that there was a little room for improvement.
The reason that I asked you to expand on this a little is that I thought the other lie was what Tim Walz did in Minnesota was he changed the law with respect to what a doctor is obligated to do
Right.
if an abortion fails. And that's where I thought JD could have just gone in for the kill and said, you change the law so that a
Right.
doctor doesn't have to provide care if the abortion is botched, which therefore then is a life. And Tim Walz was like, it's like not being in Tiananmen Square. He's like, I'm not familiar with that bill that I signed.
That's
that
been debunked, he said.
Right.
know.
He lied. He totally
But
lied.
JD's response was so brilliant. He goes, tell me where I'm wrong. And he was like, Tiananmen Square, stolen. I mean, I was a command sergeant. I mean, he was like, he was like, fact checked. What do you mean? Explain. JD was so cool. He was like, I'm sorry.
He was.
Tell me what
He was cool. I just wish he would have been a little bit meaner sometimes. There were a couple.
Yeah,
I know.
There were a couple times. No, Daisy, I'm with you on this. Like, I was like, dude, you got, it was like the Karate Kid where I was,
Right.
sweep the knee, Johnny. Like, yeah. I was like, you got
Sweep
him.
the leg.
Right, you got him right there in the corner. Sweep the leg.
Sweep
And
the
he was
leg.
just like, no. I'm
I
gonna
know.
and I was like, I get it. But I think JD really wanted to make sure that people who thought he was the devil incarnate was
Right.
like this real, and he did. He came across, and I will take that. But believe me, I'm with you guys. Like, there were a couple times where I'm like, dude, you got him. Take him out. No mercy.
I know. I think he is like that. I think he genuinely is a
He
good
is.
man. And I love that about him. I really do. And I think we talked about this a little bit this morning about how we are just not used to that now because the discourse has become so awful in our country. We're old enough to remember when debates were like the one last night. We're old enough to remember that. But we've gotten so far away from that we're like, go for the jugular, go for it.
But don't you? I actually want a little of that. I'm so tired of being like,
I hear you,
Congressman. Good point. Let me just say that I agree with the gentleman and his friends. I'm like, you're not
I'm
friends,
with you.
and I want you to fight for me. I want you to fight. I want you to tell me that the debt's too high, that we got to take on China, that you're willing to take on the swamp. But like, I want some fight, and so I'm tired of the whole like, the gentleman's got a point, and I wish that we could work together in a bipartisan fashion and form a commission with talking points and PowerPoint. You know what? Go tell me that you're going to end. I mean, I'm with you. There's a little bit of, give me a little something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm with you, Sean. We need some pit bulls. We need them because the Democrats fight dirty. They're nasty, and they are like,
dude, they pushed the Biden out. These guys weren't like, they cut the guy out. They cut his leg. That was literally like, hey, go sweep the knee. They got him out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know why. We're all sitting here like, playing patty cake, and they're just like, Nancy Pelosi's like, he's too old. He's lost it. Take him out.
Yeah, they're vicious. They're vicious. And you have to fight back with that equal viciousness, which I think a lot of people on our side are they're a little uncomfortable with. And so, I mean, while it was nice to see that I do appreciate that he was tempered in his response. I really like, he's the greatest pick. He really was a great pick.
Last night, I think, I'm telling you, I was walking around. I felt like, sometimes like I look a little gloating. I was like, people were texting me and they were just like, okay, dude, you were right. He really is that good. And I'm like, told you so. Look, he got up there. And from the second that he took the stage, I was like, dude, he is on his game. Yeah. He just looked collected. And the thing is that he has a command of the issues. But the bottom line is this, and I said this in different ways. Donald Trump and Jd Vance are both authentic. You mentioned it when it comes to how he interacts. I agree with you. Like, it's real. It's not, this isn't conjured. That's how he treats people. He's a nice person.
Yeah. It's like when Waltz mentioned that his son was witness to that shooting, you could see on Vance's face that he was like visibly touched by that. Like he was emotionally responding to that moment. That wasn't fake.
Yeah.
That was real. Yeah. It was very real. And that was touching to watch that. I was like, okay. I mean, he's having a moment where he's like, dude, I really feel for you. I'm so sorry. He meant that. I mean, he really meant that. And I like that about him.
Yeah. No, I loved it. I thought that he hit all the right notes last night. I was really proud of how he came across, and also the contrast between him and Waltz. So I couldn't have been happier. I literally felt, I wish I was like that was more. All right. Last question for you guys. I know what Trump said on Truth Social last night, but do you think there's any chance that we see Trump and Kamala on a debate stage again?
I don't think we will.
I don't want that. I think it would be a big I just don't think he needs to do it at this point.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of with you at this point. Although I
Can you just text him and ask?
Right.
yes,
know
well,
him.
I do. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. It's always a pleasure. You guys, I love watching your show in the morning too. I get a chance to click on it when I'm getting ready, and it's so entertaining. But thank you guys for always being with us and having fun. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.